Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Johanna and welcome to my cozy book space. For today's video, we're going to be doing my January TBR and we're doing it a little bit different. This is going to be a lot more casual. I'm thinking this is going to be how I'm going to be doing my TBRs for 2025. Earlier in the year of 2024, I added all of my books to my Goodreads want to read. I did not scan every single book. For example, if I had a complete series in my library and I haven't read the first book, I only scanned in the first book. So with that being said, I have a total of 336 unread books on my physical TBR. I know that was definitely a reality check, and I definitely want to read more of the books on my physical TBR, which I did read a good chunk in 2024, but I definitely want to keep that momentum going in 2025. So I figured we would do like a spinner wheel number game. That way we can choose what books on my physical TBR I'm going to be reading for said month. I think I'm going to start off with 3. I don't know how many I should do, to be honest, because I still want to give myself the opportunity to mood read, and there are also books on my Kindle that I want to read, anticipated releases, Libby holds, etc, etc. So maybe we'll do 5. We'll do 5 a month, and if I read more, then great, but I guess we'll just run the spinner wheel 5 times and see what books we get, and then we'll kind of adjust this physical TBR game, if you will, in the coming months, depending on how well it goes in January. So I'm going to spin 5 times for my physical TBR, and then I think I'm going to spin just once for my historical TBR. I didn't add any of my historicals into my Goodreads want to read, so I definitely have more than 336 books that I haven't read, but that's a whole other issue. I don't read historicals that much, and I usually just buy them because they're really pretty and they do sound interesting, so I do want to read them. With that being said, we're gonna start slowly with the historicals, so I'm thinking just spin once and go from there. So let me get started on screen recording and see what books on my physical TBR we're going to be reading for January. After I spin for my physical TBR and for a historical, then we'll dive into the other books that I picked out for mood reading or because new releases are coming out, etc. So let's get into the spinner wheel. I'm going to insert the screen recording on the side. I have already added the numbers. We're going to go ahead and spin. That's a lot of books, y'all. Okay, 295. Spin again. It's gonna be the second time. 332. Spin again. I'm kind of nervous, y'all. 228. We're getting all big numbers. I think we're on our 3rd spin or our 4th. Now I don't know. 261. Okay, so we need one more. Last one. 320. Wow, we got just big numbers this time. Okay, so for my historicals, there's no way I have more than 100. So I'm gonna change the numbers to 1 to 100 and see what we get then. So let's go ahead and spin 70. So now that we got all of our numbers, I'm gonna go ahead and look this up on Goodreads and see which books these are. I will pick them out of my shelves and we'll go through them. Okay, I have gathered all of the books for my January TBR, so let's go through them. For new releases, I want to read Ank's Storm by Rebecca Yarros. So with that book being on my January TBR, I definitely want to do a reread of Fourth Wing. I loved her when I first read her. I gave her 4 stars, and I'm excited to dive back in and see if my rating changes because I need to reread Fourth Wing. I obviously need to actually read Iron Flame. I have yet to read this, so this is also on my TBR because I have to read this before the 3rd book comes out. So both of these are my January TBR, one as a reread, one as a new read, a continuation of a series, if you will. Also, if you didn't know, these 2 books are on Kindle Unlimited. I did not know that, so that's probably going to be the format in which I reread them. If not, I will probably listen to the audiobooks because I do believe first book, if not the 2nd book as well, are on AnyPlay, and I'm pretty sure you can probably request it from your Libby as well. For other new releases, Empire of Temptation by Mila Fanelli. This one already came out. It's a new series by Mila Fanelli. I love her writing, I love her books, so I definitely want to get to that in January if I can. And then lastly, as for a new release, we have Phantom by H.D. Carlton. I'm not sure what this book connects to from her previous books or if it's just a standalone, but it's H.D. Carlton. I will be reading it. As for a reread, I want to reread Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This was on my December TBR for a reread since it is a Christmas romance, and so I had requested it on my Libby and I got the hold in December. October, and I think I still have it. I have a couple days more on the hold, so I'm gonna try and get to this in January. That is the only reason why it is on my January TBR. My Vampire +1 by Jenna Levine is also on my TBR for January because I have it as a Libby hold. This is also going to be a series continuation for me. And then another one that was a series continuation was A Beacon by Claire Kent. This is the last book in the Kindled series. I actually have already read this, so I can cross it off my list. And it was one more book that I needed to finish reading to complete a series. So that was on my January TBR, and I have already read it. Okay, now for the fun part before we get into miscellaneous TBR books. For the number 295, we ended up getting Lover Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I was so shook when this was chosen. I literally own a lot, if not all, of Lauren Asher's books, and I have not read a single book by her. I don't even know if I like her writing, but the FOMO really got me with this particular author. She is so loved, so I'm hoping that I enjoy her books at least. And I guess I'm starting with her newest series that she's currently coming out with. I believe the hero in this one is an architect. Yeah, I think the hero is an architect and the heroine is an interior designer, and they have to fix up this house together and they fall in love during the process. Sounds good. I love the cover. I'm hoping to love this book. I feel like I'm gonna say I was shook every time I had to see what number was which book, but for this one I was shook. This is Immortal Dark by Tigist Gurma. I'm so sorry, I most likely mispronounced that, but this was for number 332. This is a recent purchase. I was going to not read this until the vibes were there in October, November kind of vibes, you know, but it was chosen. So now I gotta read it, and that's what we're gonna do. This is a vampire romance. I've heard mixed reviews, but this is a stunning copy. It has the sprayed edges. A lost heiress, a soulless vampire, a secret drenched in blood. It began long before my time, but something has always hunted our family. Literally stunning. It says, seek mind above blood, and if you must bleed, use it as ink. Anyways, I know the basics of this and it sounds really interesting, hence why I bought it. So I'm excited to read this. Okay, next one for 228, we ended up getting Pucked by Helena Hunting. I purchased this from half price, as you can clearly see. One, because I've always wanted to read this book. It's a highly loved series, and the first book is, I think, a lot of people's favorite, but it was also signed by the author, so I definitely ended up picking it up. It's literally in brand new condition, so I'm hoping to love this, you guys. I'm loving this TBR game. For pick 261, we ended up getting When She Unravels by Gabrielle Sands. I got this from a Dark and Quirky box. I have since unsubscribed just because I don't really want my contemporaries and hardcovers, but since I have these, I'm going to read them before deciding to sell them or repurchase them if I love them in a paperback or some, I don't even know. Yeah, she's honestly stunning. I love her. I believe this is Mafia. He's the most powerful man in Ibiza, and he'll do anything to make me his. That's all I need to know. For the last and final pick from my physical TBR, we had number 320. This one was Stupid Prizes by Alice Duke. When I first saw that this was the number for this book, I was like, that's crazy, because I ended up buying this to read in the summer, and I found it at half price, and I just absolutely fell in love with the cover and the premise. I think I'm gonna love this. Hopefully I love the writing, and I'm excited. It's like a friends to lovers, fake dating, so I'm excited. So now for my historical pick, I ended up counting, it was a lot. Okay, it was WildBlossom by Cynthia Wright. I ended up looking this up on Goodreads, and this is actually the third book in this series by Cynthia Wright, but I think I'm gonna read this anyways as the third book. I'm pretty sure you can probably most likely read it as a standalone, like it's just an interconnected series. It's not like you have to read the first book to read the third book, if you know what I mean. So I'm definitely gonna read this, and then if I love it, then I'll go back and add the series to my series list and or read the first and second book. So I'm not gonna literally procrastinate to read this book just because it's the third book. I'm gonna read it because I own it and I want to make sure I'm reading my physical TBR. Also, I have to show you guys the step back. Literally stunning. Let's go ahead and talk about the other books that I have added to my TBR that are kind of the picks that my mood reader self chose. Okay, we're gonna try to do these rapid fire. So first up, I have Under the Oak Tree by Suji Kim. The book that I'm currently in the middle of. I started it in 2024 and I want to finish it in January 2025, obviously. And I did end up purchasing the audiobook for this on Audible just because I put this book down for two simple reasons. The chapters are so long, the font is is so tiny. I need this in audiobook. There's no way I'm going to be able to physically read this. It will take me months. With that being said, I do like the story. I like where it's going. I mean, I'm at a point where the hero and the heroine aren't even together physically. Besides the point, this is on my January TBR, and I'm going to be listening to this. The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. This is on my January TBR. I know it's a Christmas romance. We got a couple of those for January, but you know, we're still in winter. It's fine. My Christmas tree is literally still up. I refuse to take it down because it looks good where it's at, but also because it's freezing outside and I don't want to have to take it down and like go on my balcony where it's cold and put it in the storage closet. So it is what it is. I need to read this. This is a novella. I just need to get to it since I've literally put it off for Christmas of 2024 and I still didn't even get to it, so now I have to read it. I literally am so sorry about this. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I'm going to read this in January because I literally said I was going to read it in December before the end of 2024 and I just didn't get to it. The thing is that I want to read this physically because I know I'm going to want to tab all of the beautiful quotes, and I do have the audiobook for it. It's on my AnyPlay, so I don't know if I'm going to be listening to it or physically reading it. I want to physically read it, but if I choose to physically read it, it's on the less likely of me actually reading it in January, so we'll see what happens. This is embarrassing at this point. Another wintry romance from Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. This was on my December TBR thing too, and I just didn't get to it. I believe I do have the audiobook for this as well, so I'll probably be listening to it. I'm excited to dive into my first Mariana Zapata book. I have another Tessa Bailey reread. This is a Christmas novella by Tessa Bailey. This is Window Shopping. This is the new republished cover. She's honestly stunning. I love her. I love this book, and that's why I want to reread it. And then lastly, I have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book specifically. I have requested it on my Libby and I just got the hold in, so that is why it's on my January TBR since I'm most likely going to be listening to it. But look at this cover. It's literally stunning. It's giving winter Christmas vibes. It is, you know, a circus, but I think people say it's a good book to read during this time. I believe this is the UK edition. It is absolutely stunning, so I really hope that I love this. I would have liked to physically read this, but I'll probably end up listening to it since, like I said, it's on my Libby. Those are all of the books on my January TBR. We have quite a few options. Of course, the spinner wheel picks are my main priority, as well as my Fourth Wing reread and continuation of the series. Let me know what's on your January TBR. I would love to know. And if you don't want to comment any of that and you would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, comment a snowflake emoji since it's literally starting to snow where I'm from. Also, let me know down below in the comments if you guys like this form of picking my TBRs. I think they're so fun and unexpected, and it's gonna definitely push me to read more of my physical TBR historicals. I'm really enjoying it. We'll see how January goes. We'll do a little recap for my February TBR. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.